All right, this is Dr. B here and back for another stream. I'm trying to stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays now. That's the plan. So I think I fixed the sound problem from last night with being in a big echoey room. Hopefully it just sounds like a normal room right now. So this evening, we're going to look at naming ionic and covalent compounds, which if you're a chemistry student, the faster you are at naming and formula writing, the faster you're going to be on quizzes, tests, exams, all these things. So it just makes you kind of a better student and more successful when you don't have to think about it. You can just name things quickly. So let me show you the app that we're going to use. This is something I built a few years back and use this with my students quite a bit. The way it works is we're given a formula here, and then we're going to write the name in here based on the rules, and we'll learn how to do that. So for instance, here I know I have a metal and a non-metal, and there's no transition metal. So this is aluminum oxide, IDE, aluminum oxide. So when I submit it, it tells me if I'm right. So you can keep going through this, and if you get it wrong, then you get feedback. So we'll kind of be using this to come up with problems tonight, and then we'll be solving them as we go. So let's get over here and take a quick look at this. So if you've been watching my streams, you're real familiar with this here. Metals and nonmetals. So the way we're deciding how to name chemical compounds is if we have a metal and a nonmetal, it's going to be ionic. We have a nonmetal and a nonmetal, it's covalent. And then with ionic, there's kind of three different flavors, and each has its own rules for naming. So we've got to learn all of this and then how to do the covalents, which are real easy actually. There are other type of compounds you have to name in chemistry, like acids, and we'll look at a few of those. Typically they begin with H, like HCl is hydrochloric acid. And then organic compounds, they have carbon and hydrogen, like CH4, so on. But we're going to stay over here today. Make sure you get these because that's mostly what you'll see in general chem. All right. Let's use our app to get a problem. NiCl2. So I'm just going to grab that right there. And then we can go back here. So if I look at NiCl2, we need to figure out which one of these rule sets that we use. So nickel, where's nickel? Ni right here, that's a metal, and then chlorine's a nonmetal. So it's ionic because we have a metal and a nonmetal, but we have a transition metal. So we have to use special rules for transition metals. All right, there I lost my chat. All right, Silent Night says good morning. It's actually here, it's 8:30 at night. So, wow, big difference. So we have NiCl2, right? The way we do this, we write the name of the metal. So we write nickel. And then we write the name for the nonmetal. That's chlorine. We're going to change the ending INE to IDE. But here's our problem. Nickel, that's a transition metal. So we have to figure out its charge. And the way we do that is we know that chlorine is 1 minus, and we have two of them. This has to be 2 plus. So we're going to take and put Roman numeral 2 right in the middle. So whenever we have a transition metal here, we've got to figure out the charge on it and then write it in the name based on what it's bonded to. So let's see if we're right. Nickel 2 chloride. We're going to put that in the app. Let me clear this out so we have some room. Here's our app. And we're going to see if I'm spelling nickel correctly. I'm not, to tell you the truth, positive. I'm a bit dyslexic on this. Yeah, we got it right. No, it's not. Nickel 2 chloride is not the name. So I bet you I spelled nickel wrong. So you can really learn from this, just even the small stuff. That's it. I spelled it wrong. So we can keep doing problems like this. Let's see what we got here. PCl3. This is a real good one to do. So I'm going to put it up here and see if you can figure out whether it's going to be a metal, whether it's going to be ionic or covalent. So I'll put it right here. We'll make this big. And you can figure that out. I'll get rid of this stuff here. Incidentally, there's phosphorus and there's chlorine. Hey, thank you, Francesco. Glad that I could help you in science. And I see Boss de Dakra had a big midterm exam. Wow, I hope you do well on that. Yeah, I will put this video, I'll leave it up on my YouTube channel so you guys can see it. And actually, let me put the link to the app that I'm using in here so you have that. Where is it? I'm really proud I actually built this. It's the first thing I ever really seriously coded with on the computer. So anyways, back here we've got PCl3. You can see nonmetals. 2 nonmetals. These are the easy ones to name. So let's go down there. And if you have 2 nonmetals, it's covalent, also called molecular. And we said it was PCl3. So the way you name these, you take the phosphorus, oops, and then you write chlorine. And note, this is going to be capital, this is going to be lowercase. That's the way they do it. Change this to IDE, and now because we have 2 nonmetals, we use these prefixes up here. So we don't put anything on the front. If it's just 1, the front one you leave alone. But chloride, we have 3 tri. So PCl3, that's phosphorus trichloride. So you've seen almost all the different types. Now you're going to get to do some practice with them. So let's see if we got that right. And we did get that correct. So keeping going back and forth and doing these, that's really the way to get very, very good at this. All right, so let's let you guys try some. How about, oh, that one's tough. Oops, we lost everything here. See my cat there? Okay. Pull this all back up. All right. So this is the last type. If you can name this, you're really in good shape. Let's clear this and then go back up here. This is what we call a compound that has polyatomic ions in it. So you can tell because you have this metal here and then you have a group of nonmetals right here. So when you see that group, you know you're going to have to either look this up and memorize it. So you write aluminum, and then this you just know you're going to have to look it up. HCO3 right here. This is hydrogen carbonate ion. So we call this aluminum hydrogen carbonate. You have the metal and then you have the polyatomic ion, and you either memorize those or you look them up on a table of polyatomic ions. And in the app, you can find this table here as well if you need to use that. So let's try it. Let's see if we got it right. Aluminum hydrogen carbonate. And there's that table that I was just using. It's not the name. I wonder if it's called aluminum bicarbonate. So sometimes it's called aluminum bicarbonate, and you can see that right here that that's the other name. So it gets a little bit tricky. All right, let's let you try some. We've seen all types so far. New problem. So give this one a try. P2O5. Take about 30 seconds and do that. See if you can get it. And I'll give you a hint. 2 nonmetals. All right, so when you have 2 nonmetals, it's molecular, you use the prefixes. We have di for 2, so diphosphorus. Then 5 oxygens, we say pentoxide. So that's how we name it. We don't even have to worry about charge with these covalent compounds. Diphosphorus pentoxide. Let's see if we're right. And note it's pentoxide, not pentoxide. You don't have 2 vowels in a row, just the way they do it. Yep, that's it. Here's another one. Oh, you guys should be able to get this. I'm going to put this up here so you can see. So see if you can name this one. If you get it, throw it in the chat. See if you guys are getting these. So we've got a metal and a nonmetal. It's going to be ionic. And in this case, it's just 2 different elements. It's going to be a binary ionic. For these guys, it's pretty easy. All you do, name the metal like it's on the periodic table, calcium. Then name oxygen. Make that an O. And then we cross this part out at the end. IDE, calcium oxide. Yep, Kubra, you got it. You're you're on top of things tonight. Let's see if that's indeed correct. Yep. So if you want to get really good at naming compounds like this, you really need to take on that interplay of doing a problem, then checking your work, seeing where you got it wrong, doing another problem, and just keep doing them over and over again like that. And that's really how you get good at this kind of, it's almost like a rote memorization because there's rules and all of these compounds follow the rules. So the more you do this, it just becomes kind of second nature. There are a few exceptions, but not really that many that you need to worry about. So this app here, and the link's somewhere in the chat here, that should really help you out. Now you're talking a little bit about exceptions. This one right here we're about to look at is one you've really got to watch out for. It's this NH4Cl. So if you have any idea what it is, feel free to put it in the chat here. I'm going to show you how to name this because this one's kind of tricky. Whenever you see NH4 on the front of a compound, you should know that it's going to be a polyatomic ion, and it's always going to be called the ammonium ion. I think it's down here, right there. The ammonium ion. So whenever you see NH4, it's going to be ammonium. And you can memorize that or look it up. I recommend you memorize it. Ammonium, and then chlorine we make that into chloride. And that's the name for NH4Cl. So it's the only polyatomic ion that goes in the front, or the one that you'll see most often, ammonium chloride. Let's give it a try, see if we got it right. I hope we got it right. Yep, ammonium chloride. Let's try another one, MgSO4. See if you get this one. So this is another one with polyatomic ions. Let me put it right up here for you. And if there's one polyatomic ion you see all the time, it's going to be SO4, the sulfate ion. You see this all the time. Give it a try. See if you can write the name for MgSO4. Personally, I think that these ones with polyatomic ions, naming them is the easiest, because we're just going to write magnesium. And in the US, we spell it sulfate. And it actually should be a lowercase s. Like that. Other countries have a different spelling, like Kubra and Nicoso, if I'm saying that correctly. You guys are correct. A little bit alternate spelling. And since I'm the guy that programmed the software here, it's probably going to be the US spelling. Yep, MgSO4 is magnesium sulfate. And remember, when you're practicing this, if you get it wrong, this is going to give you all the information that you need to make sure that you have the correct answer. So use that link, and that shall help you learn to do this. Let's do this one here. We're coming up on about 20 minutes here, probably about as much as we should do. Your brain starts kind of giving out after 20 minutes. So see if you can name, clear this stuff out here, SF2. SF2. So we've got two nonmetals. It's going to be covalent. That means we're going to use our prefixes here. So S would be sulfur. We just leave that alone. And then F is fluorine. I probably spelled that wrong. And we changed that to IDE, but we've got two of them. It was, I lost it there. It looks like SF2. We have two of them, so we want to put di in front of the fluoride. And you never put mono on the first term. So sulfur difluoride. Let's see how my spelling's doing here. Where are we at? Right here. Sulfur di. That is right. I can see that. Oops. That's it. These are Sumatran tigers I saw at the zoo here near Washington, D.C. They are really kind of cool tigers. All right. New problem. So if you see one like this, just the ion, what you're going to have to do is either remember the name or look it up on a table of polyatomic ions. So I know that this is the nitrite ion. And so if I look at the common ion table here, I could go down and see, where's it at? Right there, the nitrite ion, if my teacher let me do that. Some want you to memorize it. So it's worth memorizing some of those. There we go. Let's do one more. That's the oxide ion. Let's skip that one. All right, one easy one to wrap up with, MgCl2. So let's put it up here so you can see the table. MgCl2. See if you can name that. All right, so we got a metal and a non-metal. So that's going to be the binary ionic, and those are the simple ones, simpler ones. Write the name for the metal. Then the non-metal. And change it to IDE, magnesium chloride. Yep. Y has gotten it correctly. Magnesium, well, you know, you don't want to call it dichloride. It's got to be magnesium chloride. The reason is if someone showed me the name magnesium chloride, I would know. Let me go down here and show you. If I saw the name magnesium chloride, magnesium's right here in group 2, so it's going to be 2+. Chlorine is over here in group 17. All of these are 1- when they form ions. So I know that I have to have 2 of these. So because of that, I don't say dichloride. I don't need to say dichloride because everybody knows it's MgCl2 based on the charges. And ionic compounds, they work, that's how they work. So when you have ionic compounds, you worry about the charges, but you don't have to say like dichloride, just call it chloride. All right. Thank you, Hania. I appreciate that. So that's about all I think I got for you here tonight. I hope this was helpful. I'm thinking maybe Thursday, do some formula writing. Now that we've kind of got these big ideas about how to think about the different types of compounds, then we can do some formula writing. When I see students, when I'm teaching, the students that tend to do really well in chemistry, they've got a good understanding. They can write a name to a formula or a formula to a name really quickly. And then they don't have to think about it on an exam. So they move really, really quickly. Where other students, if they're trying to figure out the name, or maybe they even get it a little bit wrong, can really mess them up. So it's just kind of like almost knowing a language, how that works. And after a while, if you do enough practice, you'll kind of get that sense of language. So go to that link and practice that out and see how far you can get. See if you can get 10 in a row. And Hania, you asked about explaining methanol. So when I talked earlier about organic compounds are named differently. So methanol is CH3OH. So we name this a little bit differently. This would be, if you search on formula or name for methanol, I'm sure a video will come up that I've done already because I've done about 1 million of naming and formula writing videos out there. All right, thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to stay on chat a little bit, but I'm going to sign off of doing problems. Hopefully this was helpful, and I hope to see you Thursday. Thank you.